Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is basically a part 2 for the video that I released yesterday. And yesterday we made a video best 7-star champions to rank 2 unawakened. So in today's video we're going to be featuring champions where I would personally be somewhat hesitant to take them to rank 2 until I get at least a single dupe on them. So, just as a side note, obviously these champions will not repeat each other. There are plenty of champions that are listed yesterday that, benefit relatively highly from their awakened ability, like Juggernaut or America Chavez or Hyperion or Silk, that I would still take to rank 2 anyways, unawakened, because they do well enough or they are just that great that even though they're missing something from their signature abilities, I take them to rank 2 immediately as I get them. So today's video is going to be a bit different story. As I said, today we're going to be talking about champions where if I'd pulled them, I'd be like, that's nice, that's neat, that's all right. But when I dupe them, I'd be very excited about the fact that I duped them because I would be, more than willing to pull the trigger at that point to rank those champions up. And let's start first and foremost with Spot. Now, Spot, we all know kind of a champion that, wants to be Sig 200. And ideally, of course, you do, because you can effectively double the potency of the bursts. You do, with the Spot trick, you can double the potency with the Fury. But just having him awakened and having him at 7-star rank 2, in my opinion, would definitely be significant enough of an improvement combined with his gargantuan, base stats, for Spot to be an amazing ranker. I would not rush to rank 2 him unduped at all. I wouldn't be particularly, over the moon if I pulled the Spot the first time. If I managed to dupe him, I would be very happy though, and I would try to rank 2 him fast. Even though I do think that overall his stock has kind of fallen a little bit, but I do think if you give Spot extra block proficiency as well, could help quite a bit to him, and definitely Sig 20 would go up. Similar to Morbius. Now, a lot has been made from Morbius needing to be Sig 200 or high Sig, but his Sig actually scales quite well, and even starting up here at Sig 20, you already get basically like a 50% chance to inflict those ruptures. And for many of the matchups, I think that would be kind of fine. So if I do happen to dupe my Morbius ever, I'd probably take him to rank 2. I do think his stock is currently, kind of elevated due to the brand new car smell, the fact that he's a decay attacker, and decay is an incredibly powerful offensive tactic. I'm not the biggest fan of the champion, but should I happen to dupe him, I think it would be a solid rank 2 for now. Moving on, Terex. Terex is another champion where we have definitely seen Terex's popularity rise with Battlegrounds. And obviously, it is important with how much power he starts, whether it is 1 bar or 2 bars. But I do think that just having Terex awakened once does give him that exact extra kind of like punch or a kick that's needed to make him much more usable. Because offensively, starting with that 1 bar of power, you would more than likely inflict a couple of armor breaks on the opponent that would significantly improve your damage output at the beginning of the fight. Not to mention, let you have access to that piece of utility from the very get-go. So even at Sig 20, he becomes significantly better offensively, in my opinion, and obviously also becomes more troublesome as a defender. So Terex is another one of those champions. I don't have a Terex like at all. If I pulled him, I'd be like, fine. If I duped him, I'd be like, yeah, I probably want to rank 2 that. So moving on, Wiccan. Wiccan's another champion that's actually growing on me more and more unawakened a bit, because Wiccan was one of my MVPs for 7x7 Karina challenges. He does cheese a lot of stuff. And we all know that the biggest problem with Wiccan is his health pool as well. However, his awakened ability is much more useful than a lot of people realize, because your level 2 inflict shocks, and those are needed in order to be able to combine them into plasmas and everything else. And his awakened ability allows him to take shock immune champions much better, which is quite a big deal and a significant change for Wiccan. Not to mention that you will get somewhat of a decent chance, like 16% chance, not to consume your shock or degen debuffs, therefore increasing your overall damage output as well. And the fact that you can block unblockable attacks from cosmic champions, period. So, it's an additional nice kit of utility. So overall, I like Wiccan. I have a 7-star Wiccan. If I duped him, I'd definitely be much, much more inclined to take him to rank 2. Moving on, Joe Fixit. I have heard different varied opinions where people have taken Joe Fixit up to rank 2 unawakened and they're happy with him. But as far as I have played Joe Fixit, I do find his awakened ability incredibly, incredibly important. Now, high Sig obviously lets Joe Fixit do more damage and do crazier bleeds and all that other stuff. But the biggest thing about Joe Fixit is that you do not need to re-ramp him after you activate special attack. And that makes him much, much more friendly to use. Faster, better, more efficient, also a better defender. And yeah, I do believe that, again, if I pulled Joe Fixit, I wouldn't be upset with it, but I wouldn't rush to rank 2 him. If I duped Joe Fixit, he would be at top of my want to take to rank 2 list immediately, even at Sig 20. So definitely fitting champion for this. And similar thing with Overseer. I think Overseer is cool. I do think Overseer has pretty much spent most of his time in contest being slightly underestimated. And there's tons of things, that he can do unawakened, but his awakened ability is super important for his ramp. If an opponent's ability fails due to his personal immunity or reduced ability accuracy, you inflict a bit of burst damage. That's fine. That is something you would want to scale, but striking the opponent while they're recovering from heavier special attacks also deals a burst of damage. And 1 second was a bit more. So you do get quite a bit of additional burst. I think Overseer could potentially be passable unawakened, but again, I'd be much, much more inclined to take him to rank 2 if he had at least a single dupe on him, giving him all of those extra bursts of damage. And the next champion's Corg. And with Corg, it's quite simple. If you do not have Corg awakened, there is no Thorns damage back, and he doesn't shrug off debuffs. Yes, the debuff shrug off chance is dependent on Sig, as is the Thorns damage back, but it's almost as if it's more of a mental thing, because just because he has lower chance to shrug off the debuffs still probably means that people will not try to use specific champions that debuff the Corg, right? And additionally, people will still not to try parry Corg and then find openings just in case the stun gets shrugged. And similarly, even if you take somewhat of a less damage back from hitting Corg into his rock field with like a medium or something or a special attack, you're still going to be trying to avoid that. And that's kind of like one of the things about Corg. You often mess up or lose against Corg, not because he's high Sig and he's going to be shrugging off everything, and if you hit him, you can take that much more damage. You lose most of the time against Corg because you make mistakes, and that signature ability is exactly what makes opponents make mistakes, because then they will be much more inclined to try alternate ways of finding openings. Then they will try to do the light intercepts. Then they will completely avoid specific characters to use against Corg, so on and so forth. And with the additional health that Corg has an attack value, punishing opponents for mistakes harder, I do think that a Sig 27-star Corg is much more dangerous than a rank 5 6-star Corg overall. So that's, for instance, the thing that I'm waiting for at the moment. I have Corg myself. Mine's unawakened. As soon as I dupe him, I'd rank 2 mine, and that's kind of stopping me from taking mine to rank 5 at the moment. Killmonger, again, is a very, very similar case, because his awakened ability is what gives him vibranium armor and lets him activate reverb, which is, pretty much majority of the difficulty fighting Killmonger is playing around the reverb, unless you have like a perfect counter. And that is a major, major, massive deal. It's not necessarily how much damage you will take back as well. It's just that it's additional thing that opponents have to keep in mind and need to play around in order to fight Killmonger. And that makes him so much more dangerous and tricky to play, because that, leads to more mistakes in the fight. And my rank 2 Killmonger at Sig 20 has been like one of my best and favorite rank ups, but I had very little inclination to take my Killmonger up until I got him awakened. Moving on, Falcon is one more of those champions. I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Falcon, but if you do manage to awaken your Falcon, I think that's a huge thing. The first thing is because even at Sig 1, Falcon's lock-on lasts 2 seconds longer, and that makes him much easier to use because you have longer attack periods and then comparatively speaking, significantly shorter cooldown periods compared to the time that you can and cannot attack. Those 2 seconds are much more meaningful than people realize. And obviously, you also get additional crit rating, which helps you crit more, which does more damage and lets you finish off the fights better. So yeah, Falcon, I think, unawakened, you can rank him, but like, I'm kind of on the fence about it. If I got my Falcon awakened, I'd try to rank 2 him very fast. So, and next champion, Domino. And Domino is kind of like in similar boat. Again, I have seen a lot of people take their unduped Dominos to rank 2, and believe it or not, she still does well on defense because despite everything else, Domino is still Domino. She can still make your abilities fail, she can still evade, she can still catch you, you can still not notice you're unlucky and then try to dex and all that other stuff. But awakened ability, even if you deliver relatively minor amount of damage, that damage is very important right now. That damage makes a difference a lot in Battlegrounds, for instance, because even if you manage to chip opponent's health kind of like mandatorily, slight amount, it's still a big deal in terms of scoring. So Domino is definitely one more of those champions where I have her as a 7-star, and I don't want to rank 5 my Domino because of it. And as soon as I dupe my 7-star Domino, she's going to rank 2. No questions asked, over a rank 5 Sig 200 Domino. Additionally, obviously, the increased health pool makes opponents stay in the fight longer, which gives more chances for your crit fail to activate. Therefore, you mitigate the difference of Sig 200 6-star Domino to a Sig 27-star Domino just because the fight itself lasts longer. And then the challenger ratings, you take more block damage, your abilities actually fail more often, and the rest of the stuff. And obviously, you get punished harder if you do make mistakes. And the final champion is Howard the Duck. Now, Howard the Duck is kind of underestimated champion. He's slowly but surely, I think, getting more love and prominence. And again, one more champion that I have pulled and that is unawakened. And the final thing that's stopping me from taking the Duck to rank 2, quite literally, is the awakened ability, and that pretty much goes down to the base ability accuracy being increased to 115%. And that just gives him the Domino matchup. And Domino matchup in Battlegrounds is like a massive deal. Increased armor rating, it's not that big of a stuff. And incoming debuffs suffer 0.2 to 1.3 second duration. That's not that important either. It's mainly just to give Howard the Duck the Domino matchup. Because in majority of the metas, when you add in champions to your deck, for tech champions, that is one of the kind of like tick boxes that they need to check. How well they do in other matchups, that's obviously important and all that stuff. But how well your Howard the Duck handles Domino. And he simply needs to be awakened, even at Sig 1, in order to be able to smack down Domino. Now, plenty of you might not care about it. I do think that, again, for tech champions, that is kind of like incredibly significant box that they have to tick. Otherwise, they have to be like insanely good. Like, Warlock doesn't do Domino as well, but he does a ton of other matchups incredibly well, and he's, solid on defense at times as well. So I think that kind of makes up for it. Similar to Fam. Fam does a ton of matchups, doesn't do Domino that well, but he's also a strong defender, therefore he makes his own case there. Howard the Duck doesn't quite do that. And for me, yeah, if I awaken him, I definitely want to rank 2 him. If he's unawakened, he's going to sit there at rank 1 for a bit at least. Or at the very least, and definitely in significantly less of a rush to rank 2. And as I mentioned, obviously there can be more champions that people are on the fence about. But most of these champions, I would rank 2 unawakened. For instance, like, Titania benefits significantly from dupe, but I would rank 2 her anyways. Same for Photon, same for Silk. And in many classes, we have these champions, but all of those champions are covered in the yesterday's video, which I will leave a link in the pinned comment, in the video description, and everywhere else. Let me know which are other champions where you would be extremely hesitant to take them to rank 2 unless you get them to Sig 20. I'll catch you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye-bye.
Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about